Hey guys, VaulSC here. Hope that you're having a great week. So our campaign finished up recently, JSA were the winners. After every TTS event that I run, whether it's a TTS League, individual performance, or campaign with the teams, I like to look for somebody who is new to the community, playing one of my events for the first time, and who has completed all their games without dropping out and participating, and then also having lost all of their games come near the bottom or last. This is not an individual performance event that we just had. It was a campaign event. We had Ariadna coming last, but what I've done is I've reached out to goldarp, who touched base with me after my recent results video. goldarp was in the faction that came last, and he didn't win any of his games, but we'll have a chat with him, and like you guys have seen before, we're going to do some coaching with the French version of Ariadna, which is not a faction that I deal with very much, but looking forward to having a chat with him and seeing what we can improve for his games. So I'm going to go join him now. Alright, buddy, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool. I'm just going to make sure that desktop audio is on. Awesome. Okay, well, how are you going?
I'm going good.
How did you find the campaign? You enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, I had a great fun. It didn't help me against the Invisi Pano tag. That thing kind of just kicked my ass.
Right.
But, what are you going to do?
Well, we'll have a talk about it shortly. We'll go through the games, and you can give me a little 20-second verbal bat rep. But how did you find the team? The experience of chatting with the guys and the format of the campaign?
It was good. I enjoyed it. There was a little chit-chat here and there. We swapped a few strategies, and yeah, it helped, kind of. At least I thought it helped.
Yeah, that's a feedback that I've had from a lot of people, is that they quite enjoy having this little secret room where they can sort of have people listen to them about their faction, and their voice generally goes noticed and heard. Let's just dive straight into it, though. So I'm going to go on my spreadsheet, and I am having a look here. So very first round, you guys were up against Combined Army. I hadn't heard of you or played against you before, so I had really no idea of whether you were an experienced player or not. Sorry about that. You were up against Brooke, who I have played many times before, and I'm very familiar with his style. How did you find him as a player, and how did the game go for Firefight?
He was good. We kind of we hit it off. At least I think we did. As for the game, holy shit, was that a nail binder! It came down to one goddamn dice roll.
Oh, so you actually nearly won the game?
It was more between a draw and him winning.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I needed my paramedic to dodge to uncap one of the consoles. And the paramedic didn't dodge and got, I think, nanopulsed or something.
Wait a sec, weren't you playing Firefight in the first round?
No, we played, what I call quadrant control, but I think it's called something different.
Oh, okay.
Did we play the wrong mission?
What happened, though, is in the first round of the campaign, when I was announcing, who was playing on what mission, I didn't really leave a space between the lines that I was typing into Discord, and a lot of people, looked at their name shout-out and then looked at the map that was, underneath where I typed that, and they played on somebody else's map, so you probably did. I think that happened to a bunch of people, but, look, that's totally fine. The main thing is you guys had a game, and the map was there. So just tell me specifically what you remember about that game being difficult, about what was it about how he played and what his faction was doing that prevented you from winning?
Let's see. Well, the big detractor was I lost my 3-man Lugaroo Link, my AP Shock Briggscard Sniper, and I think one of my chasseurs in the first round to, what's the monkey unit that can walk on the back?
The Raziat?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, because he was
Raziat walks on and he just, chopped through...
Just hosed, yeah.
Half the board, and at that point I was playing with a serious handicap of half the orders I was expecting and missing an entire fire team. And honestly, I think I played pretty well for how I managed to drag that to a draw.
Cool.
Ish.
Brooke normally plays Onyx, but yeah, I can see that he was combined army for that particular campaign. So I guess the first point of learning there in terms of winning more games in future is having. I mean, before you show up to the game in one of my events, because I've given you an opponent and told you their faction before you play the game and write your list. I think it's always worth having a bit of a scan through Army 7 and just seeing if their faction has access to anything like that, and if they do, in that particular case, just have a couple of your models at the back, sort of facing backwards, just in the same way that when you're running Margot and Duroc, those are really powerful units, but maybe not so much if your opponent is just watching every single centimeter of the side of the board. Yeah.
Yeah. I left a tiny gap, which, of course, was exploited.
Yep. Yeah. No, he definitely knows how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go onto the next page of the spreadsheet, and this is where you probably faced the tag, I'm assuming, because it was a Pano player. Did you guys actually play on Tempo War, which was the monkey map?
Yeah, we played the monkey map.
Okay, so that was the correct map.
And the I think it's a Squallow. The Invisi tag, the one I was worried about.
That's called a cutter.
Cutter. The cutter. The one thing I was worried about turned up and ruffle stomped me. I just couldn't hit it. I did save. I think it was 4 armor saves in a row at once, which was neat. But
let me ask you something. When you were fighting it, was most of the action you trying to shoot it, or it shooting guys that were standing up in your deployment zone?
It started off by shooting out my sniper, and then moved into the center of the board, and then proceeded to, in the second turn, kill my Sapper HMG. I think 3 out of the rest of my 3 or 4 of my chasseurs, and at that point, I think I had a Moblot, a couple of Lugaroos, and a bunch of Metros, and in the final turn I tried to disable the tag with glue guns. Because that was kind of my plan. I managed to forward observe it, so at least I wasn't getting horrifically screwed by the TO camo -6 mimetism problem.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't get the dice rolls to line up to glue it to the floor and attempt to grab some back.
What we're really going to be trying to do here is put our heads together and think of some ways that you can win more games, basically, and get more out of this faction. It sounds to me like there were a lot of situations there where you actually took that tag on head on, which is exactly what the other guy wants you to do. I didn't watch the game, so I'm not too sure whether it was because he put his tag in a really obnoxious location and you just had to shoot it, or whether you were trying to watch the table and get a lot of AORs with guys standing up in partial cover and him just shooting you. The thing you want to be doing is forcing the other guy to have to maneuver the tag, by spending 2 or 3 orders to get to a position to shoot you, and then after he's killed that one little thing, he has to spend a couple more orders to find a new spot to shoot you, and over the course of the turn, you limit the amount of kills he gets. And if it's him just standing up in a really obnoxious situation and just watching the table, only shoot at it with your absolute very best gun, and if you don't have something that can reliably kill it, you've got to find some ways of avoiding it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But also, too, if you can ever tie it up in close combat as well, that thing is terrible at close combat, so that might be something we can explore as well. Let's go to the last game. So I gave you same map, actually. So did you play that same map again for the third round?
Yep.
Okay, and it was OSS Remdog.
Yeah.
How'd that one go?
Pretty well, actually. It came kind of close, but he kind of tipped in his favor at the end. I managed to kill what's the Indian heavy infantry with MSV3 lieutenant?
The Asura.
Yeah, I managed to kill the Asura. Boy, did that take some working.
Yeah.
But I got the Asura, I got Parvati, and I almost... Well, I moved a mine token actually for like 4 moves at the end of the thing, and I was like, and he stabs. Wait, that's a mine token.
Mm.
So that was kind of funny. But I almost got it was some kind of a medium injury. Forget what it's called. Anyway, the other fight boiled down to my Sapper HMG and Sniper duking it out with what's the bot team? The 6-man.
The Dakini Link team?
Yeah, the Dakini Link, that's it.
Yeah.
Dueling it out with a Dakini Link, and it was going pretty well until I did a couple of stupids, and brought Margot on in a place where the Dakini Link could see her, and I didn't think it could.
Yep.
And she just got like one-tapped, and Duroc went on a tear and managed to put him a loss of lieutenant at the end there.
Oh, awesome.
But, you know, and then immediately died to the Dakini Link, because of course he is. But outside of that, it was actually pretty close.
Cool.
Came kind of down to the wire.
One thing that you might find yourself doing as you progress from being, a newer player, or less experienced player, to playing this game at a higher level, is that when you think back on your games, you're starting to think more of the game more in terms of, did I go first or second? Did I commit more of my troops early in the game or later in the game? Did I pick up objective points, really easily, or did I have to risk things and sort of rely on the dice a bit? And that's something that you'll get into a little bit more and more over the course of the campaign. Were you taking first turn or second turn, or picking deployment, or was your opponent always winning the dice roll?
First turn, first match, I won the dice roll because he failed, because he brought an Orpheus and managed to fail. I think I took deployment, he took turn, which is why he managed to ruffle stomp my Link team.
With the res, yeah.
Yeah, cool. In the first round, because I'd left a tiny gap and I just hadn't thought about it, and exploited it. Second game, I failed, he succeeded. I think he took second turn. I got first, and Tag turned up and kicked my ass.
Yeah, because it would have stayed in hidden deployment until it was his turn, right?
Yeah. Stayed in hidden deployment. I moved up, spread some stuff out, got a sniper in position, watching a lane, tried to grab one of the consoles. I think I failed like twice.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't rolling too crash hot. Just
have to ask you something here. When you took the first turn against the Pan-O guy, had you figured out that he had a cutter hidden away?
Yeah, I was counting the points, and I counted that he had 8 models, and he was missing something.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that there's probably... It wasn't actually a cutter. I was thinking it was a Swiss Guard and a Hexer.
Yeah.
Because
if you add the 2 points together, it works out to be a cutter. Well, close enough to that. Yeah, I feel you.
And then a cutter stepped out from behind a tiny rock and was like, "Surprise, mother trucker!" And killed 3 things in the first order.
If you get into that situation again, and you know your opponent is just keeping something off the table until it's his turn, you've really got to spend the last couple of orders in your turn just hiding stuff. Because it's so annoying for them to sort of walk through the big sea of mines and chasseurs and stuff like that. But if you've got everything in total cover, it's true that you can't really ARO with anything, but you wouldn't really want to, because nothing that you have in your faction, and I do mean nothing, is really going to be able to outshoot that thing when it's its active turn. So it takes a bit of discipline to do that, but if you can force yourself and really push yourself to go, nah, I'm not going to leave anything for me to shoot, then you'll find yourself with more room later in the game and more material to hit back with when it's your active turn.
I went into that match with a grand plan of trying to forward observe the thing and then glue gun it to the floor so it couldn't do anything. And that was kind of my anti-tag strategy.
That would have been the dream, but you're sort of relying on the dice a little bit there. Yeah. Cool, well, we're going to move on. So the other day I got you to send me a list that you had made. Just having a look at it. I haven't really played a lot of French Ariadna, and I definitely haven't in N4, but I made a list independently of you sending me yours, and our lists actually turned out to be quite similar. And I think that's just really because when you play this faction, there's a whole bunch of things that really aren't that great, and then there's a bunch of things which are really obviously good. So we'll go through it. I mean, you've got 2 Fort Observer Chassios and 2 Mine Layers. I put them in as well. Looks like you've got the Metros Link team. I did the same thing. Let's have a look at the first thing. Obviously, Margot and Duroc need to be in every single list, but let's have a look at the mob lot. Are you running this mob lot as a Harris at all, or is he joining the Metros? He's a wild card, so he's meant to be in the Metros, yeah?
Yeah, he goes into the Metro Link. He's actually really dangerous, or at least he does one of 2 things in games I've played with him.
Yeah.
He dies to the enemy's best HI in the first round.
Yeah.
Or he slaughters stuff as it tries to move up the board towards him. Because he's sitting in Sapper state, being all like, you can't hit me, and just ignoring shit that really should have killed him 3 times over.
Yeah, I feel like he's also a little bit unforgiving because if they crit him once, he's only got that 1 wound, doesn't he? And doesn't have a cube for the paramedic to, well, the doctor to get any reroll. Not that you've taken a doctor, but yeah, I guess once he does go down, the list is completely lacking any sort of long-range stuff, except for maybe the Briscard. But don't let that discourage you from taking him. I think he's a great choice. In my version of the list, I've just got a basic Metro HMG because he's so cheap. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so you've got a camo 1-use Metro. I love that profile because it's only 12 points and no SWCs, so I actually like to take more than one of them. But it's great you've got him there. Wolfgang Amadeus. Now, this is what I want to ask you. He is a wild card as well, but he's in a different group than the Metros and the mob lot. So is there something that he's supposed to be linking with in that group?
No. He's there to be pointed at the enemy like a sentient missile.
Yep.
And go, for example, he's there to kill Norkius. Really, he's there to fight Norkius and make sure that Norkius can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's there to walk up to the Avatar and fight the Avatar and make sure the Avatar can't do anything. Because he's got 2 wounds, he's got shock immunity, and he's dodging on +3, so
17s.
17s?
Yep. Forward,
as he goes down the board. He's probably going to get where he's going.
Yeah, I like that he's got a para-CC weapon as well, so if you are berserking Norkius, then you can at least immobilize Norkius. One thing that worries me a little bit is that if you're berserking Norkius, so he's just going to go straight up to 4 wounds when he hits you. Does he have Natural Born Warrior? It doesn't look like he does. So bear in mind that Norkius is better in close combat than he is by a mile. Especially if it's Norkius' active turn because he's got 2 attacks and a berserk can't be used in the active turn. So you got to be careful with them. But I like what you're doing. I wish you kind of had smoke there because that'd make it a bit easier for him to get into close combat. Overall, my advice would still be to put him in Group 1 because then you have the option of just running him forward and taking something on in close combat if there's the opportunity. Or if he wants to join the Metro Link team, then his multi-rifle at burst 5, and he's going to be better at that shorter range than the mob lot, and of course he can survive a crit and keep on going. But I do see that you've put 6 orders in Group 2. I mean, it's pretty easy to just spend a command token and move in between groups, but you may have spent the command token and then another one to reform the link, and you might be a bit light on command tokens later in the game. So I don't mind it. I just think that that's a really good option to consider.
Yeah.
Paracommando, excellent. 21 point guy, also a paramedic. I guess that's useful if you're in a scenario where you need to bring a specialist on the side of the board. Is he somebody you used in some of your games during the campaign?
No. Usually, I'm not bringing a Harris in this list. Usually, you would see either a Brizcard Harris or a Lugaru Harris.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, Wolfgang goes into that Harris. as
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
like the thing I like to run him with is I like to bring the viral rifle, if I can get the SWC and the extra points, the viral rifle grenade launcher and the adhesive launcher boarding shotgun
Yep.
plus Amadeus, and that is an insanely dangerous link for what it brings. Because
Yeah. I like
it
that because you've got the Briscard heavy rocket launcher. If that Commando was either another Briscard or if the Commando and Briscard were just Loop Gurus, then the Wolfgang could join them, and that seems a bit more efficient to me.
the Paracommando is there in this particular case to pick Margot or Duroc back up.
Okay.
So, like, say Margot goes on the board, kills a few things, and then drops unconscious. The Paracommando then walks onto the board, relatively near where Margot is, and then just walks over and picks them back up. Ideally, I have never once passed a paramedic check.
Duroc's at least Fizz 16, but yeah, that's pretty unlucky. But yeah, again, I guess the takeaway from that is that it's a good strategy. It's something that can work, but if you want to win games a bit more consistently, you've got to try and look really hard for ideas where you're going to be in situations where, okay, there's an 80, 90, 95% chance of getting a success, really, rather than going, okay, the paramedic's going to bring Duroc back half the games, but then the other half of the games, he's either not going to be able to show up because they're watching the table too closely, or he's going to fail the roll, and that could have just been a guy in the Harris backing up Wolfgang, which is a bit more solid. So I don't hate it, but yeah, it's just better to look for strategies and tactics which are more reliable, because in this game, it's just so swingy and there's so much dice and luck involved. You've always got to be managing that risk as much as you can. Hang on, I'm just gonna how do I share my list? Army code copy, and I think I've had my webcam over top of your list the entire time, but that's okay. All right, I'm just going to copy paste a code into our Discord chat, and then if you just load that one up. This is a list that I put together, and I'll just sort of systematically go through how I think about it. This is not really a very good shooting list, and I don't think this is a very good faction for shooting. But there are some ideas in here. So Wolfgang and the Metro aren't really going to outshoot something like a Dakini and a Link Team or a Kamau Sniper or whatever, but you always have to have some shooting in there, because if they just have like flash bots and walkers and things around and they're being really annoying, you need something to be able to take that on. I actually run the 112 bike, and the reason why is because there are going to be some games where you keep Duroc off the table and he's your only smoke, but with the bike being there, the bike does have a smoke grenade launcher, and you're going to be in some games where you cannot really kill the other guy's ARO piece, because it's like a ballistic skill 17 heavy rocket launcher in a Link Team, or it's the cutter, or it's that Kamau Sniper with MSV2, or it's a Marut, and you're shooting at it with your mob lot or whatever. Let me just come back to the mob lot. The mob lot's heavy machine gun does not have armor piercing, so he's rolling 5 dice, and that's great, and sometimes he's going to get crits, but if the other guy's got a tag that's armor 11, then he's just going to be saving and saving and saving, and then if you have that one turn where you get a little bit unlucky, well, his one wound is up against like an explosive round that hits him from a missile launcher or a multi-HMG, so that's really unforgiving. Whereas this list I'm showing you now, one thing you could do with it is go, right, I'll just move the 112 up, I'll fire a smoke grenade, I'm blocking off the path to that, and then I'm going in and I'm pressing buttons and I'm doing objectives and I'm moving my guys into the midfield. Or if it's like that monkey map where it was Tempo War and he's got his cutter near the middle, you might be able to sort of pop the smoke somewhere and get somebody into close combat like Wolfgang. So that gives you another way of progressing and not having to resort to going, okay, I know that he's got something which shoots better than me. I'm just going to hope for the best that if I roll my dice, I'm going to immobilize him or get crits or whatever it might be. I've taken 2 Metros with camouflage, one use, just hoping one of them will stick. They work a little bit more like Dale Armies there, where if they fail, you've got the Panzerfaust at the back, but if you pass, you've got a guy up in the midfield. That can be kind of handy for tying something up, maybe even close combat, or just trading efficiently. So there's that, and then lastly I've got Nauf here, which seems like a strange choice, and I almost never take Nauf, but he's just got a little bit better tech than anything else that I can find in this faction for long range. So if there was like a Cataran or something else in this faction that I could take, I'd probably be on that. But with Nauf, you've at least got something with MSV, whereas nothing else really seems to have that, apart from I think the Briscards. And then attacking wise, he's got mimetism. He's pretty good at shooting, and you've at least got something in the list which is beyond that 32-inch range. Because if you're on a table that is really sort of unfairly open, and the other guy's got snipers and things, going back to your list, there's the heavy machine gun, and that's pretty much it. And there's no real way of advancing within in range if you happen to be stuck in a really awful table. Whereas Nauf can kind of give you the option to do that. I don't think Nauf actually has a cube, which is annoying, but you can at least try and doctor him with the 112, so that's something. Yeah, so that's sort of my approach. Do you ever consider taking the Dozer and Tractor Mules? Because that's another thing I was looking at.
So there's a meme list I have. It's 2 Katyushas, it's 4 Chasseur forward observers, it's 2 Paracommando forward observers, and Duroc and Margot, because they kind of go in everything. Yep. I forget what else is in the list. And essentially, all of those forward observers are just there to forward observe stuff for the tractor mules.
Yep.
And I call it a meme list because it is kind of memey, and it is extremely, well... The tractor mule always feels like it's that unit that almost gets there. It's like just shy of good, and the changes to forward observing in N4 do make it a lot better, but it just tends to pale out.
Yep. Compared
to like a Lugaroo link.
Yep.
Even though the Lugaroo link did get nerfed, I miss those stun grenades. Those stun grenades were amazing. They were the workhorse of what I did in N3, but now I don't get them.
Yep. Here's a tactic that you might consider, and just tell me if you've ever thought about trying this. You put all 4 of the Chasseur forward observers in the same group. Then you put the Katyusha in the other group, and what you do is you do a coordinated order on all your 4 camo markers. They start in total cover, and all 4 of them peek out to see your target, and they all forward observe. So the other guys then got to pick one of them to shoot back at. They'll likely win, because you're a 1 burst. But then the other 3 get basically a free shot, and if it does target them, then you could spend all of the 5 orders in the other group bombarding with BS attack. Have you given that a go or thought about doing it?
I did something like that once. I used to run all 4 chasseurs in the one group because I was horrible at keeping track of which
group they're in. Yeah, you just gotta tint them in TTS really. Similar thing with the metros, that like the 12-point guy with the Panzerfaust. Let me just click on him one sec. AVA total. Wow, I love that. So you could have a list where you've got 4 of them, and you don't even try and deploy them on the enemy side. You just put them somewhere throughout the middle, and you coordinate order on those guys, and that way you've got 4 Panzerfaust shots. Yes, it's only BS10, but if you're up against something like a sniper in a link team, like a Gorenza or a Kamau, it's just gonna eat you for breakfast. Really, there's nothing you can do. Those metros, you sacrifice one of them, it's a 12-point guy, and then there's a pretty good chance that one of those BS10 pot shots is going to connect, and the Panzerfaust will definitely take him down. You're hoping for him to be taken unconscious, completely off the table, so he can't get doctored. But if that's their only sort of standing up ARO piece, then you can charge Wolfgang down the field and actually get into close combat. So when you're playing this faction in future, I really want you to think about having a crack at that. But always look at the maps first. In my events, you get to see them beforehand, which is kind of handy. So just have a look at the positions and maybe do a little half-hour practice before your game, thinking about where you'll deploy them and what the good spots are, and that'll be able to inform you a bit better when you pick the table side or pick turn order.
Yeah, I was doing that for the TTS League. I looked at the what I call quadrant control, because that's what me and my friends called it when we used to play.
Yeah.
When I could grab them onto TTS. And I looked at the monkey map and I was like, wow, this map kind of sucks for me. Because
Sorry about that.
there's not really any, like, the thing I do a lot is I abuse the ever-living shit out of chasseurs, because they are really good.
Yep,
Like,
they really are.
really, really good. And, I just cover the board in mines and let them try and walk their way through it, and, the Sapper HMG guy just gets plopped in an unusual spot because he's a Sapper and he can sit in the middle of completely open parts of the board and not care. I mean, he usually dies, but he usually takes like 3 or 4 things with him.
Yeah, you'd
And
hope so. Yeah.
he's like 30 points. He is cheap as shit
He is
for what he
absolutely.
does.
That's the thing you've got to rely on in your faction is just the points efficiency of a lot of stuff. But remember, the troops are lacking quality too, so that's a
Yes.
deficit. Okay, let's just move on to the next stage of this. Hang on, I've got mine layers here. Mine layer. Now, I'm just going to tint these guys pink because they're going to go on my second group here. Okay, so imagine that you're playing on this map, which is Supremacy, which is basically one of those quadrant control style missions, and you have to play against me, and I'm playing like Onyx. If you win the dice roll, what are you going to do?
What's the coup got?
Just
Not
bear in mind that
too
like you have no idea what's on my
awesome.
list yet, but you've just won the dice roll, and you know it's Supremacy, and you know the faction is Onyx. Would you prefer first or second turn or deployment?
I tend to favor second turn, actually.
Yep.
Just because I've gotten really good at deploying my stuff in a way that is impossible to, outside of border walking shenanigans, kill from the front easily.
Yep.
You kind of have to with the Frenchmen, because if you don't, they do just kind of die
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
shooting.
Okay, next question. Let's say that we've set up for our game and I won the dice roll and I took second turn. And let's say you've taken this deployment zone over here. So you're forced to go first now. And that's going to be tough because this scenario is all about the zones end of round scoring. So you're already on the back foot, but fortunately you can see my deployment. So if we come over and have a look, over here, I've got my 5-man Unitron Link team, and the Plasma Sniper's standing up. So he's able to see this long avenue down here and kind of across here. So he's going to be a tough nut to crack. We're sort of playing a game where I know your faction, so I know that you're going to have the guys coming on the side of the board. So I've set up this Unitron and these guys back here to completely watch all of the stuff. So you can come on over here, but on the other side, maybe not. This could be a great spot to exploit me and use grenades, maybe. But there's definitely no coming on the back of the board because I've just watched the entire back of it. And on this side, there's a little bit more weakness. But again, the Q drone's got 360 visor. I've got these two models looking backwards. And you have to not just kill my guys, but also end the turn in a position where it's just too hard for me to move on to the zones and just start scoring really easily. So let's go over to your side of the board. Obviously, we've got a couple people here who are not on the table. We can deploy them later. Let's go through and work out where you'd be deploying your guys. Maybe let's start with the Link team because that's going to be very restrictive in terms of where the rest of them can go. So looking at this deployment zone here and seeing where I've put my guys. First question: would you be planning on spending a lot of orders on the Link team? Or just having them sit somewhere and hide?
Usually what the Link team is there to do, outside of, my usual Sapper guy, is the Link team is there to hide in a corner and provide orders for Durok and Margot.
Yeah, perfect.
Like, they are not there to do fighting, usually. They are there to hide and... in the cases where things go horribly wrong and I do need to tap them,
Then they can move
come
out
out
later.
of hiding and move out later. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Okay, so pick them up, and let's. I want to see where you put them, and the exact facing and positioning of them, because there are often like little subtle ways to get better at deployment, and that can really help you in the long run with games. Because if your opponent is the one making the mistakes and they can't really exploit you because you've deployed so well, Infinity just gets easier and easier and easier as you get into that, and it's only once you reach the higher level that the other guy is also deploying perfectly, and it's about what happens in the middle of the game.
How clippy can we get with these corners? How they're angled?
Let's just say that you can deploy halfway into it and just have it clipping into it, and that'll just count as cover.
All right, sweet. HMG.
Oh, yep, he's got a bit of a corridor there if he needs to stand up.
Probably leave him roughly there.
I'll go copy paste a marker for the team leader.
So, in this case, I would probably be assuming that there's a Kodali.
Yeah, well, I do have a reserve trooper I haven't put down, so that's something to bear in mind.
Is Onyx capable? I believe Onyx is capable of picking Kodali.
Yes, they are.
I didn't see. Oh no, there he is. There he is. There's Norkius.
Yep.
I was going to say I didn't see a Norkius, but I would also be expecting a Norkius.
Yeah, he's pretty good. So he's just already in the middle there, and he's just. I've put him there because he can get dodges if you send anything really close to him. He can also sort of see across the deployment zone, but I'm not expecting him to be shot by an HMG here, just because I've got this area so well covered off. But I like him in the middle of the board so he can move up and try and eat something later in the game. And also he's worth a lot of points, so if he just crosses over the line of the deployment zone, he can actually go into a quadrant, and that's a pretty strong second turn strat. Cool. Just one little thing to think about here with these guys. This is not a massive thing, but one thing that might bite you in the foot later is that if I did leave something in a position where the HMG could take it on, you don't want to be sort of making him the core leader and not having everybody within 8 inches. It's not that bad though, because you can easily just spend one order moving them up and then ending that order with them all within range of 8 inches of each other, and then flip it over to the Metro. But just a general sort of link team deployment tip.
So if I were to shift him over to there...
That'll probably solve the problem straight away, actually. So just gives you that little extra option if you happen to need it. You don't really want to be in a situation where your opponent just does something wrong, but you can't exploit it because you also made a tiny error yourself. So that's looking pretty good, man. I love the fact that they're all prone. It means that if you don't get around to spinning any orders on them at all, because everything's going really well later, then you haven't left me anything to shoot at. The worst thing you can do is leave this guy standing up and then not spend any orders on him because you run out and then I just kill him. So it's great that they're prone. Okay, so let's do this chasseurs. Don't put them in camo state just because we want to be able to see them, and also for YouTube and stuff. So obviously they deploy in camo state, but where would you put these two mines and these two... actually, the mines or the mine layers? Where would you put the two forward observer guys first?
I'm going first, right?
Yep. I forced you to go first, yep.
Yeah. Yep. This guy is probably going to start his existence right there.
Yep.
Assuming he drops where I want him. Yeah, that looks good.
Does look good.
Yeah, he gets the first order, he goes boops a button, drops a mine, and then goes and hugs the box in front of him.
Cool. Yeah, it only takes you 2 orders, and it's pretty efficient.
This guy probably joins his friend, because I like having mutual, ambiguity in the amount of camo markers I place on one side or the other side of the board.
Yeah.
He probably goes there in cover with his mine. Where's the center line? It's there, so it probably end up there, give or take.
I think it's a decent place for it. Remember, if you're going to be spending orders on this guy and dropping mines with him and going back into camo, you don't really want to double it up in such a way that if I have a trooper that just comes in and detonates both mines at once, you want me to sort of be having the toughest time possible. You could even put a mine out in the open, actually, that I can discover and shoot, because if I'm spending orders doing that, then, you know, I'm not killing your guys.
Exactly.
So there's a variety of things you can do.
Ideally, he would probably end up dropping it, like, right about there-ish, just on the other side of the console.
Yep. I also like this particular spot here for the mine too, reason being that it covers this area off completely, just blocks that, and this side. So that's extremely annoying if these guys are wanting to move around in the late game and get into your side. So I really like that spot, and it's also in a really annoying place for people to use a long-range discover shoot to get rid of it. So that's a really cool one. And plus, if you're worried about Kodali, I mean, it stops her from coming on the board over here.
That's also true.
Yeah. If the mine was like there, then it's actually being blocked by that, so Kodali could actually show up there. Anyway, put that there.
As for the other ones, where is... So, this FO begins his life here.
Yep.
He probably gets the third order, goes, boops the button, and then, probably just recamos.
Yeah, man. Hey, here's an important question.
I would coordinate...
Who would you pick for your reserve trooper out of this list?
Probably the Khufu. Nauf. I've always called him a Khufu Outlaw Sniper. I don't know where I picked that up, but that is... And now I'm trying to break it. Yeah. So I would probably put Nauf as my reserve trooper. The other thing I would do, and I do this quite a lot, is I would coordinate an order recamo, because that's just more efficient than spending entire order each time you want to recamo a pair of your chasseurs. And the mine layers don't usually do anything in the first turn anyway.
Here's an idea for you to consider, and I want you to remember this because it may help you, again, win more games in future. My reserve trooper is actually a Greif operator. And that's something that Onyx does a fair bit. And the Greif operator might be deploying somewhere annoying on your side of the table, like, I don't know, here or whatever, because it takes up points in the middle of a zone without me having to move it. But a cool thing you can do by having the chasseur in reserve is that you can put the mine down right next to him, because he counts as a friendly model for you, because that's how impersonators work. So as soon as you do that, you know, purely by deploying him, you've completely countered me. So for example, here's the mine layer, here's the mine. If you did something like put the mine layer back here, even though he's not really helping behind this wall, but you've got the mine out over here because my Greif operator happened to be there, that can be really useful. And you're also, by having the mine layer as the reserve model, you've got effectively two deployments which you're holding back, a mine and a guy. So that's definitely something to think about. But Nauf as the reserve model is not bad either, because if you see that nothing else is going to shoot him with an HMG, you can put him covering a really long lane with his MSV1. So it's definitely not a bad choice.
Yeah. So where was I? I tend to deploy the chasseurs in effective, what's the word? Mutually supportive positions.
Yep. Oh, because the mines, you can't tell who the real one is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I use the mines as a smoke screen to kind of obfuscate which one's the real chasseur. It breaks it tends to break down earlier if I go first turn, because, you know, I'm moving one of them to go do an objective. But in this case, I would probably, if I was deploying it here, I'd probably deploy him just on this side of that.
Yep.
I think I'd have to put him there if I want him to be in cover. Just because of how cover works. So he'd probably end up there in camoed. And I'd probably stick his mine there, or just about.
Yep.
I think I can get away with it as far as there, and that would be to block a Kodali walking in from the side.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely wanna make it harder for me to sort of move something into your territory, especially if I have something which can come over and beat these guys up. The mine's not going to be that great against Norkius, but you still want to slow him down as much as you possibly can. So there's nothing wrong with that there, and it stops me from discovering and shooting it. So there's nothing wrong with that.
I probably put.
Would you try and infiltrate this guy on my side of the table, or not?
Generally never. I want them as another distraction piece, something that is prone somewhere, watching an angle that gets to fire at you once or twice before you kill him.
Yeah. No, I like that.
The 15 order limit kind of hurts because I would like to bring 4 of these and 4 chasseurs, but at that point that's a lot of my orders, and 4 of them are essentially throwaway units that are 12 points each. And
yeah, I totally feel you, and that's definitely something which has hurt the faction. One thing I was looking at that you could have considered too is, see this spot here. If he has to infiltrate and fails, he could actually deploy on the side next to that cover and see this really thin angle here with his Panzerfaust. But what I was thinking of doing is, if he deploys prone on this roof, I haven't really got anything that can get to him. And by being prone on that roof, you would be able to prevent me from putting my Greif operator up there, which is something I was considering anyway. And later in the game, I mean, he's putting 12 points into the zone, which is not nothing. But later in the game, he can also stand up and actually shoot something as well. I've got my HVT there, so he may. Well, I don't think he can interact with the HVT in any way, but importantly, he's actually capturing it if you don't complete your classified kind of thing. So one thing you could have considered is going for the roll right there and with him prone, and then if you fail it, just bring it back there. So always be looking for not just, is there a great place for me to try and bring him in on the other side, but is there an equally good place that he can go either way if he fails the roll? And if the answer to both of those questions is yes, then maybe you should try for the roll. But it's not a bad choice to deploy him out there. You want him to provide orders as well. He is, at the end of the day, a cheerleader that can do something else in addition. If he is camouflaged, that's pretty cool. I'll put it that.
Yeah. He'd end up camouflaged and prone. I generally like to leave my chasseurs standing because it again provides that extra layer of confusion over which one's the mine, which one's the chasseur.
Yep.
Are you going to discover shoot a mine, or are you going to discover shoot a chasseur who is going to flamethrower you?
Given that you've got first turn, if you actually end up moving any of them, well, it's going to reveal them all anyway. I'm going to be able to know, so it doesn't help out that much, but I can definitely appreciate it. And if you're going second, which is a great strategy, then that's definitely something you're going to be wanting to do.
Yeah.
Who else we got here?
We got one more metro, and I'm just kind of looking at the board, and I don't think I wanted to. Honestly, putting him on that house is not a bad idea of the other places he could end up. Because in here, he's suffering a bit from short range syndrome, where he doesn't do well close in. And I'd probably end up sticking him somewhere over here, but there aren't any really good places to be a mutually support with there and still infiltrating.
Yep.
So this might be one of those rare cases where I do attempt to stick him somewhere he normally wouldn't go, which would probably end up being on top of the building.
Yeah, so basically you try and make a roll for it,
shoved in this corner.
Do that, he goes prone. Because what I was thinking of doing is putting my reserve trooper here after you've deployed. But I probably won't do that now. So let's just pretend that this guy passes. He's in camo. And then that just leaves you with... so now it's the reserve trooper, and then there's the bike. So what's a good spot to keep the bike?
I'd probably stick it in here. Where can I put him? I can put him up this far. Is he impetuous? No, he can get cover.
Yep.
So I'd probably stick him right about there. I don't think he can go prone. Can he go prone?
I don't think bikes can go prone. I sometimes get this wrong.
don't think he can go prone. Going prone would be nice, but he's probably just going to dodge smoke to the first thing that shoots him.
Yeah. You know what I would do with him? I would actually put him like there. Reason being is because the idea is that we're going to be doing a little bit of stuff with smoke. And one thing that's really going to help you is if you bring Duroc in over this side here. But the problem with that is that as soon as he moves around in front of that sniper, he's going to get shot. Let me just quickly look at Duroc's stats really quickly. So Duroc has grenades, so he can bombard them. So what you're going to be wanting to do is land a grenade on Kurnow. That's going to be awesome if you can do that. But if something's able to shoot him from there, that's going to be really hard. You don't know what my reserve trooper is at this point, but what you do know is that I could bring the reserve trooper in maybe here, or like around here, or somewhere that I can actually see that spot. So being able to come through and smoke it off somehow is going to be useful. Unfortunately, my reserve trooper actually is something with MSV1, which you don't necessarily know at this point. But it's good to have that option. But that plasma sniper, nothing in your army list is really going to be able to outshoot that in the active turn.
No, I even if I had rolled, I probably had won the roll off. I probably would have made you deploy first.
Yep.
Just because you've got things that will invalidate entire portions of my deployment if I don't, know they're there. Like the plasma sniper or Norkius. You get, as Onyx, you get Noctifers, right?
Yep.
The ruddy Invisi missile launcher of Doom.
For all you know, I could have a Noctifer as my reserve trooper. I've already put down 14 guys, so it has to be the reserve trooper or nothing, but that's absolutely correct. Hey, the other reason why I like the bike on this side is that if one of the chasseurs goes down, you can try the medikit, whereas on this side you've already got a paramedic there, so rather than doubling up with 2 paramedics, you've got one on either side, which I think is pretty cool.
That's fair.
Yep. He's also got a really nice hiding place there as well to keep his points, so that's useful.
You can just motor forward. He's not that expensive. I think he's like 20-something points.
Yeah, he's cheap. Sometimes in missions like this, it can actually be a good thing for something to be expensive, just because you can commit more points to a zone, so that's always kind of funny.
I can't model for model outpoint Norkius. I don't think there's a thing in my list that would even come close to him, because he's like 60 points.
No, that is true. But just getting a couple of things in the area is enough. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so let's say that was your deployment. Then I've got to think about bringing this guy in. Now, I know that looking at your army here, I'm actually not that afraid of being swept away in the first turn, because you haven't really deployed anything that's going to threaten me very much. But what I am afraid of is Margot and Duroc. So I'm looking at the spot here and thinking, damn, grenades just across the wall, that's going to be kind of painful. So my deployment of him is going to be like there. And the reason for that is that his combi rifle can see through that and pop him there. The funny thing is, though, that you probably should bring Duroc in anyway, because I can only shoot you once and I can only do 1 wound on you. So you probably could then go prone with the second order and dodge and be fine, and then just keep blasting these guys. They will get a chance to dodge away though, so as soon as Duroc deploys there, I'm probably going to be dodging out of the way. But ending the turn with killing this guy would be gold. Note that I've got a smart missile bot over here, which tells you, it kind of gives away the strategy that at some point in the game I'm planning on standing up with Kurnow, firing the pitches, then hacking somebody, and then smart missiling them later. So that's one reason why you're going to be wanting to spread everybody out. Like, these guys aren't too bad because they are on the opposite side of the board. I'm never going to get a picture over there. But it's just something to watch out for. And also, always recam all of you guys at the end of the turn if you can, because otherwise that strategy is going to be available to me.
Yeah, coordinated ordering, re-camoing, coordinated order dropping mines, coordinated order move and drop mines are things I do a lot.
Yep.
With chasseurs. Because it means I can drop, like, if I deploy all for, like, 2 mines at a time and recamo 2 guys at a time as opposed to 1 at a time.
Yeah, definitely.
Which gets expensive in orders. As for Mr.
Nauf?
Nauf. Yes, I will get there eventually. It will probably take me a couple of months. Honestly, I'd probably consider this side of the board a loss. Like, just based on the positioning and the terrain of what you've got going on here. I would be expecting you to win this quadrant up here and probably push into this quadrant pretty easily. I will be doing my usual delaying tactics, which is field or mine, which does a good job usually of delaying or making things harder for you. But on the flip side of that, there is no really good places to put a sniper outside of maybe one on this side of the map inside my deployment zone.
Yep. I think there's a couple of theoretical options for Nauf. One option is to not actually try and get efficient with him as a sniper in round one at all, and just make him a points monkey. So you could even just put him somewhere where he spends one order or joins a coordinated order and just gets into a spot like this and just has his points in the zone or over here. Because what you're wanting to do is, at all costs, prevent me from starting to score after the first game round. So you could start him here, move him up, and then just leave him there. Even just cut off this really short angle, and he's at least points in the zone, and he's generating an order. So that's one way to do it. Another thing to do would be just to try and sort of trickily sort of standing up there just to spot this point if Norkius comes through that area. And because these things are considered to be infinitely high, there's no way I'm going to get him. So there's that. So that's one way to go. Yeah, there's a few basic options. It's hard to do anything too wrong. I think where you've got him over here is also fine.
I'd probably put him like there.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because he's watching this console, and my play for the game is probably going to be to try and control this side of the board.
Yep. Think about what's going on over here, though, is that these guys are all way at the back of the deployment zone. You're going to be spending quite a lot of your turn just getting into the quadrant and not very much else for attacking. So maybe having Nauf somewhere where he can actually move into the zone on this side of the board would be a good idea. Like, if you start him there, nothing could possibly shoot at him. Oh, hang on. No, the Q-drone's actually sitting all the way through there. One thing you might be able to do is start Nauf there, and then he just pops out. The Q-drone will be at long range and against cover and mimetism, and Nauf will just be hitting on 13. So you might actually take the Q-drone down straight away. And if he does drop, you can get the paramedic out and try and revive him. Oh, I really like that spot, actually. And if the Q-drone does go down, you can then move him over to here, so he's in the quadrant, and Margot and Durok come over this side. Because if you're moving into this corridor, the Q-drone's just going to be dead. You're not going to be able to hit him. Yeah. So you put a smoke grenade here, bash this guy in close combat, knock this thing out, and you've got this whole area where I've got to move my stuff in. That's actually pretty cool. I mean, Norkius would come over and try and counter them, but you may be able to set up like suppression fire and stuff around here with your chasseur. I think it's a pretty good game plan.
I'd probably be getting something other than the chasseurs to do suppression fire. Whether that would be standing up Wolfgang and moving the unit forward, or some like I don't.
Yeah, man. Look, if you see that I've really committed to this side, if you execute that strategy and Nauf takes the Q drone down, Durok comes on the side and puts a smoke grenade down, takes out this Icadron and so forth. You can get yourself to a point where you stand up with these boys and move them over to here, and the HMG is watching this angle down here, and the HMG at that range will be able to outshoot Norkius. So if Durox and Margot is ending up over here at the end of the turn, it's going to be hard for me to come after them, and they're going to be sitting in the zone. One small problem, I guess, is the Icadron. Technically, I should be able to hit him with targeted through the repeater, and then the T-drone blows him up when it becomes my turn. But if you can reset at the end of the turn, that's not too bad. Yeah, but I think this is your way in. I mean, this is one way to try and win the game. You've got to sort of... If you're the one having to go first on this mission, where second turn is so good on this mission, you've got to sort of play pretty aggressively and take some risks and commit your troops early, or at least somewhere. Can you think of any other sort of angles? Any other sort of overall bold game plans that you would want to do turn one?
If there was more stuff back here that I could use to hide behind.
Yeah.
Where are your hackers?
So, and Kernow's the killer hacker over here.
Got a killer hacker. You got an Evo hacker.
And then there's the actual Nexus hacker there. But they're all three of them are using repeaters.
Can all three of them do Spotlight?
No, just this one that you're mousing over right now.
Okay.
Yep. But here's an important an important decision you need to make right now, and that is, are you going to A, keep Duroc for later in the game and not bring him on, or B, bring him on this side, or C, bring him on this side? Those are really the only options, because you can't bring him on the back of my board because I'm watching it too closely, and you don't really want to bring him back further than that because he's just not going to be in the game very much. So it's really just a choice between, are you going to hold him back and just do everything with the chasseurs and stuff turn one, or are you going to pick one table side? What do you think you would do?
So I'm a little sketchy on how speculative fire works, and it's not something I've used very much. But based on what I know of how it works, I would probably bring Margot on here. In the first round, because I believe we play that you can see into buildings but not through them.
Yep.
So she comes on there, and then she positions herself like right about there.
Yep.
And then I spec fire a pie plate, and I believe I don't get as big of a penalty if I can see where it's landing, and I just drop it right there in an attempt to knock the Nexus out and the T-drone missile launcher.
I like part of this plan, but I think there's a point of coaching here which we can go over. So, spec fire is where you nominate a point and you shoot at it, and you're -6 to hit, and you've got one shot only. If you can see the specific spot, then there's no penalty. But if she's firing a grenade launcher and not a smoke grenade launcher, you do actually need to see the model. So if she's spec firing, this is not a great strat, because she is just going to be missing almost all of the time. But I do like where you're going with this. What I would be doing is I'd be putting it here, because then it will actually be within that range at -6, but still you're within range, and these guys have to dodge. They don't dodge at a -3 penalty because they've got 6th sense. But if you connect with either one of them, putting those two down is great. And I've got my doctor on the other side of the table, so I can't really bring them back. One problem with the strategy, though, is that she's BS 14, so she'll be hitting on 8s against my dodge of Unidron on a 10 and Kernel on a 14, because he's got +3 to dodge. So it's not super efficient. If you have Duroc, though, which is what I was talking about earlier, if he specifically deploys there, here's what happens. This Greif operator reveals, fires his combi rifle, probably hits you. So there it is there. Bang, he hits you. Maybe you fail your save, maybe you don't. Great thing about that, though, is that if I wound you, or if you pass the save, you can guts. And you can actually go, oh, I'm going to drop prone. He goes down to 1 wound. And suddenly, I'm out of line of sight of that guy. If we just check the range real quick, so these guys get a dodge, but they may not pass. And they might not really have very, very, very good positions to dodge in. Then Duroc does the spec fire, and the grenades don't have a 0 range band, they're just +3. So when you're landing the grenade there, Duroc's fizz goes up to 19, then -6. So he's actually banging them on 13s, whereas Margot would have been trying it on 8s. See the difference there? So if you do that, and you take out those guys at the start of the turn, it becomes quite hard for me to get rid of Duroc later, and he's got a massive wad of points in that quadrant, which is really, really good. You might even be able to bring Margot over the other side too, and just have her points camping out. I mean, maybe not, but still, if you're giving me a problem where I have to not only counterattack and kill things, but move guys into the quadrants, I've got too much stuff to do, it's going to take too long, and I'm going to spread my guys out in compromising positions, and you just retain the momentum, and you can ride that to a victory later.
If I was going to drop him here, and outside of doing the Margot grenade launcher thing, I probably would put him there.
Yeah.
The other thing is he's dodging. He dodge smokes on 19s.
Yep.
Which is fucking huge. Like,
Yeah, man.
he is, generally speaking, going to pass that dodge smoke.
Yep.
And then I drop a smoke at his feet, and he inches his way forward into whatever is provoking arrows, and tries to stab them.
Yep. Remember, the dodge smoke won't work against this specific guy because he can shoot back at you for free with his MSV1, so there is that to watch out for.
Yes.
But yeah, the dodge smoke is very, very good. The thing I like about banging the spec fire grenade over there on the 13s is because if you do kill Kernau, it takes away my option of firing the pitches around. If you don't kill him, though, he does have the potential to put a pitcher around, and then I hack you, and then I smart missile you, which you can't really smoke dodge, because it's just not a valid ARO from that distance when you can't see them.
I think I can still dodge, and I'm dodging decent.
Yeah, you'd be dodging on a 13, but I'd be hitting you on an 18, so it's pretty hard. It's good that he's got total immunity, though, because then he's only taking one save. So, but I mean, over a period of time, I will take him down, and then it's just a matter of me moving into the zone. But you want to force me to just take as long as possible with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which ideally would mean either dealing with the the thump. What's it called? Pitcher. There we go. English. I'm good at it. I swear. Dealing with a pitcher or dealing with the hacker. Unfortunately, there doesn't look like a great spot. Yeah, you do have a pretty good blockage going on here. Interestingly enough, there's Norkius. I could try and shoot Norkius in the back. He's only armor 2.
You got to get into his back first. Yeah.
If I can kill the Kudron with Nauf, I would probably end up bringing Duroc on here.
What about this guy, though?
I'm hoping I'm out of range of the flamethrower, because that's the only thing I'm really scared of.
Yeah.
Because the flash, I'm total immune. He can't flash pulse me.
Well, let me just show you something real quick. So, let's say he comes here.
Yeah.
This model actually allows me to turn some stuff around, by the way, when he lands. This guy's actually got a pistol, so I mean, it's unlikely to cause much damage, but if he does wound you, that's really annoying. Let's also see if Norkius is in range. Okay, so he can't dodge.
Yeah.
But like, look how big your guy's fucking model is. So this guy's got a combi rifle as well. You see?
He does?
Yep.
I thought he only had flash pulse.
No, the combined army one is a little bit weird. It's a bit different, and I've even put my unidron there. So if they're both prone, they're actually going to see over each other, and you're just going to take 2 plasma shots as well. So this is not really a valid place for him to land.
I didn't necessarily consider that. I looked at the E-drone and was like, well, it's an Evo bot. That means it's got a flash pulse.
Combined armor are a bit weird. They have all these little exceptions all over the place, so it just takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
Which is why I said earlier, either you leave Duroc off, or you bring him on this side, or you bring him on that other side. And it looks like the sides are decent options. I'm still kind of a fan of this. If the Q-drone goes down, like you spend 1 order on Nauf, and if he delivers the goods, then you drop him here. This guy maybe gets a hack off, and he probably dodges, to be honest. Oh, yep. So if he passes a dodge, he may come around like that, which is annoying, but, you know, total immunity, you can get rid of continuous damage, I think. I might be wrong about that, actually. So he comes over here, and then if I flamethrower, then you just keep dodging, you come to close combat, you kill me that way, and then you continue to come around and bop these guys, and then you leave Duroc just in the deployment zone at the end of the turn, like here.
Yeah.
And actually, no, that's not in the deployment zone. He'd need to come around like that, I assume. Norkius then comes after him. He'd be coming around like this, but if you've got this angle here cut off with the boys, because the Metro's moved up to like there, and of course there's still Nauf watching this as well, then that's pretty good because you can take Norkius down as he's walking in.
And Mr. Duroc is... Norkius has only got 2 armor.
Yep.
He is not an armor tank. And 2 chain rifles to the face as he's coming into close combat stand a decent chance of killing him before he can actually reach me.
You don't
Assuming
you don't actually get the
I
chain
line
rifle
up-
burst bonus in the reactive turn.
You don't?
No. I know.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty annoying. So yeah, do take that into your future games into account that he's only going to be able to do one wound maximum at a time. Other thing is Norkius is just really good at dodging, and the structure of it is that he moves, you have to choose something, then he can choose his thing. So if he moves, you do chain rifle, he's going to dodge, and he's dodging on like a 15. So most of the time, it's not going to be about his armor, it's going to be about his vis. Having said that, dodging on a 15, he probably will fail if the Metro has got the Link Team bonus in 2 shots, because the Link Teams do get the burst bonus in reactive turn.
That's
weird. That's the handy part of it. This guy being to here as well, I know these guys aren't really shooters, but if it's suppression fire, well, Norkius is dodging at -3, and this guy's hitting on 11s. Just really helps.
Yeah.
Anyway, my friend, we've gone over just over an hour and 10 minutes, so I probably got to get going. But I feel like we've learned a fair bit in this session.
Yeah, Frenchmen are weird. They have Duroc and Margot and Chasseurs, and they're pretty much forever takes.
Yep.
Then you've got Mob Lots, which are HIs, which cost the same as your medium infantry. Some of them are cheaper than your medium infantry.
Yep.
Well, actually, no, they aren't. Only some of the medium infantry are cheaper. Some of them are more expensive than your base mob lots, and that is kind of the factor of how it works out. Is you have a bunch of interesting and weird units because you're the low-tech, high-tech faction.
Yep.
So you get the stuff that Ariadna doesn't get access to, but at the same time, you've only got like 4 good things.
I like Jark if you need the AP, because it's quite rare to get AP in this faction apparently, but it's a really important thing in this new edition of Infinity. And I also had a friend of mine locally who liked the forward deployment HMG guy. I think it's the Zouave Sapper. Especially if there's a map with some big buildings in the middle. I mean, this map we've been working on just today doesn't really have much of that, but some of the maps that I made just had like a big fuck-off building like within your half of the table. Which you can deploy on top of, like that Annihilation map. So that's where he comes in handy.
Yeah, I've used them in the past. I've got middling results usually.
Yeah.
Crit out of cover in the first move.
Yeah. You got to think about what's the expected value of something, what's likely to happen rather than what actually did unluckily happen in your real games, and that works both ways. I mean, don't put too much stock in a model just because it killed things in your last game, and don't sort of lose heart about something that just died to a crit. Even though you expected it to do well. If you have that mentality, Infinity's a lot better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Kind of like that.
I do have to go. Thanks for going through this coaching. It was a real blast, man. And I hope I'll see you in the next event and get some wins and stuff.
I'll be sticking around. I'll see what the Frenchmen can do, or I'll go play the Caledonians and just apply meathead brain to
That's the way, man.
all problems.
Can't wait to see your progress, dude. All right, I'm out. I'll catch you next time, man.
See ya.
See ya.